I thought of Chloe as my best friend, the sister I never had. She, on the other hand, seemed determined to get me into bed. She wrapped her arms around my neck, her voice a low murmur. Liam, come on. Just try it. Just once. I pressed her back onto the couch. For the love of God, Chloe, snap out of it. Later, when she really did stop trying, I was the one who panicked. Something was very, very wrong. My name is Liam. Chloe Hayes is my childhood friend. The we've known each other since we're in diapers kind of friend. Other guys' childhood friends are sweet, gentle things. Mine, I'm pretty sure, is a cocktail of straight whiskey and Red Bull. She'll get you buzzed and give you a heart attack at the same time. And right now, that cocktail was clinging to me for dear life. Liam, just once, please. Her voice was syrupy, laced with the boozy heat of her breath. All of it funneled directly into my ear. I leaned my head back, tried to evade the biological warfare. Chloe, get the hell off me. No. She tightened her grip, hooking her legs around my waist. Not until you promise you'll try. Try my ass. Her idea of trying was for me to be her boyfriend. The reason? Her mom was on her case about finding someone, and she thought I was a convenient, low-effort solution. I should be so damn flattered. I took a deep breath, telling myself not to argue with a drunk. Especially not this particular drunk named Chloe. Ever since we were kids, she was the one who started the fires, and I was the one left holding the extinguisher. Get down first. We can talk about this like adults. I tried to pry her arms from my neck, but they were like clamps. Not until you agree. She buried her face in the crook of my neck, nuzzling against my skin. Liam, you smell really good. Every hair on my body stood on end. You squeeze any harder, and I'll smell even better. Like a corpse. A few college kids walking back from a late class passed by, snickering behind their hands. My face burned. What are you looking at? Never seen a girl harass a guy before. They laughed and scurried away. Freeing one hand, I found a soft spot on her waist and pinched just hard enough. She let out a yelp, her limbs going slack as she slid down my body. Her feet hit the pavement, but she was still leaning on me like a rag doll. I quickly grabbed her shoulders and pushed her to arm's length. Stand up straight. Her lip trembled and her eyes welled up, like I'd just kicked her puppy. Liam, you're an asshole. Yep, I'm an asshole. I agreed, just wanted to get this disaster home. I'm so good to you. Why can't you just like me back? Here we go again. She'd been asking that a lot lately. I grabbed her arm and started pulling her in the direction of her apartment building. I like you so much I want to stuff you back in the womb and hope for a different result. See, she perked up, hopping in front of me and poking me in the chest. That's proof you care. It's a thin line between love and hate. I almost choked. Hate your face. Let's go, I'm taking you home. I'm not going home. My mom will just start in on me again. It's so annoying. She plopped down on the curb. Not unless you agree. Now I was annoyed. I squatted down to face her. The dim yellow light of the street lamp softened her features. Her eyelashes were long, casting tiny shadows on her cheeks. When she wasn't talking, wasn't causing trouble, she could almost pass for a sane human being. Chloe, I said, trying to keep my voice even, we're not a good match. Why not? Height. I'll wear heels. Personality? We know everything about each other. Family? My mom practically thinks you're her son. Our genders aren't compatible, I said, deadpan. She stared at me for a second, then scooped up a handful of gravel and threw it at me. Liam, go to hell. I brushed off my pants and stood up. Fine, I'm going. You can stay here and feed the mosquitoes. And I actually turned and walked away. I hadn't gotten 10 feet before I heard a tearful shout behind me. Liam, are you really leaving? I twisted my ankle. I stopped, tilting my head back to look at the sky. God, what did I do in a past life? Blow up a retirement home? Was she my punishment? Resigned, I turned back. She was still sitting there, rubbing her ankle, looking at me with pitiful eyes. Which one? My left. I knelt and took her left ankle in my hand. She hissed in pain. I gave it a gentle squeeze. The bones felt fine. You really sprained it. Yes, she nodded emphatically, her eyes wide with sincerity. I let go of her foot and let out a cold laugh. Chloe, you sprained your right ankle. The air was silent for 2 seconds. She yanked her foot back, but I held on tight. Could your acting be any more dramatic? Her face flushed, then paled before she finally gave up. Yes, so what? I lied. It's your fault for ignoring me. And you have no idea why I might be ignoring you. None. I released her ankle and stood up, looking down at her. Chloe, are you done? Is this fun for you messing with me? She tilted her head back, squinting against the streetlight. Who's messing with you? I'm serious. Serious about what? Finding a buffer to get your mom off your back? Or do you just think it's fun to string me along? I stared at her, a strange anger simmering inside me. It had been building for days. Ever since she'd first draped herself over me and said, half joking, Liam, let's just give it a shot. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her eyes flickered away for just a second. And in that single second, the tiny, stupid flicker of hope I hadn't even admitted was there died. I nodded. Okay, got it. I turned around. Go home. And don't pull this crap again. It's not funny. This time, I didn't look back. I just walked. She didn't call out to me again. When I got to the entrance of our complex, I instinctively slowed down, listening. There was the faint sound of footsteps behind me, keeping a careful distance. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding and picked up my pace, leaving her behind. The next morning, my phone woke me up. I fumbled for it and saw over a dozen missed calls, all from Chloe. I switched it to silent and shoved it under my pillow. Peace and quiet. I got up, brushed my teeth, and stared at my reflection. There were faint dark circles under my eyes. I hadn't slept well. All I could see was Chloe's big, watery eyes and that last evasive glance. Annoying. After I got ready and opened my door, the door directly opposite mine opened at the same time. Chloe emerged, sporting even bigger dark circles than mine. Her eyes lit up for a fraction of a second when she saw me. Then her expression immediately fell. She pretended not to see me, looking down as she locked her door. I didn't say anything either, just walked to the elevator. We lived across the hall from each other. I had our mothers and their obsession with being one big, happy family to thank for that. When they were buying condos, they decided it was a brilliant idea to be neighbors so we could look out for each other. All it did was make my life difficult. It was just the two of us in the elevator. The space felt small, so quiet I could hear her breathing. She leaned against the far wall, fiddling with her fingers. I could feel her sneaking glances at me. I stared blankly at the floor numbers as they descended. She finally broke the silence. I ignored her. Liam, she said, her voice small. I'm sorry. The elevator reached the second floor. I still didn't say anything. I was drunk last night. I was talking nonsense. Don't be mad. The elevator hit the ground floor. The doors opened, and I walked out. She hurried after me, grabbing my sleeve. I'm really sorry. I'll never do it again. I shook her hand off and kept walking. There was a little diner at the entrance to our complex that I went to a lot. Morning, Sal. Bacon, egg, and cheese, and a large coffee. You got it. I took out my phone to pay. Chloe slid up next to me. Morning, Sally. I'll have the same thing he's having. The owner smiled and nodded. I took my food and found a booth. She immediately sat down across from me with her own tray. Liam, come on, don't ignore me. I took a bite of my sandwich, avoiding her eyes. I promise. I'll never say anything like that again. We can go back to how we were before, okay? I took a sip of my coffee. It was too hot, and I burned my tongue. Look, I've known you since we were in diapers. That's over 20 years of friendship. We can't let one stupid thing ruin it, can we? She looked at me with wide, pleading eyes, like a stray dog waiting for scraps. I put my sandwich down and finally looked at her. Chloe, yeah. She sat up straight, ready to listen. Do you mean it? You'll never bring it up again. I swear. Cross my heart and hope to die. She raised her hand. If I ever mention it again, I'm a total dog. I studied her face for a few seconds, searching for any hint that she was joking or just trying to placate me. There was none. Her gaze was completely sincere, almost begging. The weird anger inside me subsided a little, but something else seemed to bubble up in its place, something sour and vaguely disappointing. Fine, I said, picking up my sandwich. Eat. Her face broke into a huge grin, her eyes crinkling at the corners. Okay, let's eat. She took a huge bite, her cheeks puffed out like a squirrel's. This place really does have the best breakfast sandwiches, she mumbled. I didn't reply, just focused on my coffee. And just like that, things seemed to go back to normal. She stopped looking at me with that sticky, intense gaze. She stopped throwing herself at me. She stopped saying things that made my skin crawl. We were back to being buddies, throwing casual insults at each other. We'd eat together, make fun of each other, and she'd get into trouble, and I'd clean up the mess. It was good, except it felt wrong. She didn't text me about every little thing anymore. Before, she'd send me a picture of a weird-looking cloud, or complain about finding a hair in her hospital cafeteria lunch. My phone was a constant stream of Chloe. Now, her texts were a ghost town. For instance, she no longer asked me first if I wanted to hang out on the weekend. Instead, she was always with the new nurses on her unit. I ran into them at the mall once. A gaggle of girls, chattering and laughing. She was grinning from ear to ear. When she saw me, she froze for a second, then gave a little wave. Liam, hey, fancy seeing you here. It was so polite, so distant, like we were strangers. I just nodded in reply. As I walked away, I could hear one of the nurses ask, Chloe, who was that handsome guy? You know him? Her answer floated back to me. Oh, just a neighbor. We grew up together. A neighbor. Grew up together. Accurate definitions, technically. So why do they sound like an insult? That weekend, my mom called me over for dinner. The second I walked in, I saw Chloe on our sofa, helping my mom shell edamame. They were laughing so hard they were practically falling over, looking more like mother and daughter than she and my mom. Mrs. Evans, you see, Liam's been a grumpy old man since he was 5. I know, right? Thank God I have my Chloe, always so full of life. I slipped my shoes off and ignored them, heading straight for the kitchen. Hey, Dad, what's cooking? My dad, wearing an apron, was at the stove. You're here. Pot roast. Your mother insisted. I peeked over his shoulder. It looked amazing. Go easy on the sugar. You know Mom's blood sugar is high. I know, I used a substitute, he said, shooing me away with his spatula. Out, you're in my way. I retreated from the kitchen. In the living room, my mom was holding Chloe's hand, her voice serious. So, Chloe, honey, any prospects? There's a nice young man at my office, just finished grad school. My stomach dropped. I instinctively looked at Chloe. She was still smiling, her expression unreadable. I'm not in a hurry, Mrs. Evans. What do you mean, not in a hurry? You're 25. A girl's youth is precious. You can't waste it. My mom was in full matchmaking mode. I've seen his picture. He's very handsome. How about you meet him tomorrow? Chloe just smiled, neither agreeing nor refusing. Mom, can you just give a rest? I couldn't help but cut in. Why are you more worried about it than she is? My mom shot me a dirty look. I'm allowed to worry about Chloe, aren't I? You think everyone wants to be a lonely bachelor like you? I was speechless. Chloe let out a little snore of laughter. Mrs. Evans, Liam just has high standards. High standards for what? He's lucky any girl looks at him twice, my mom scoffed. You know, Chloe, if you're not seeing anyone, you should just settle for Liam. At least we know him, your mother, and I would be so relieved. My heart skipped a beat. I looked at Chloe. Her hands paused over the bowl of edamame. Then she shook her head so fast it was a blur. Oh God, no. Mrs. Evans, Liam and I are way too close for that. It'd be like dating my brother. She even made a face like the thought was disgusting. We're purely platonic. Purer than pure. My mom looked disappointed. Oh, well, I guess you can't force it. That tiny bud of hope that had started to sprout in my chest was crushed flat by the words brother and platonic. Exactly. I forced a smile, sinking into the armchair. No point in forcing the fruit off the vine if you end up breaking the whole branch. Chloe shot a quick glance at me, then looked down and went back to the edamame. The atmosphere was suddenly awkward. My mom looked from me to Chloe, sensing something was off but unable to put her finger on it. Just then, my dad came out with a platter of food. Dinner's ready. The meal was a quiet affair. My mom dropped the subject of blind dates and started nagging me about working too hard. Chloe barely spoke, just ate quietly. When my mom put food on her plate, she'd smile and say, "Thank you, Mrs. Evans." Only my dad seemed oblivious, rambling on about everything from international politics to the price of pork at the supermarket. After dinner, Chloe helped clear the table, then said she had to get home to finish a report. My mom told me to walk her out. "No need. We're just across the hall," Chloe said, waving her off as she put on her shoes and left. The door clicked shut. My mom poked me in the forehead. Did you do something to upset Chloe again?" I was baffled. When do I ever dare to upset her? Then why was she so down tonight? She barely ate a thing, my mom said, worried. Usually when she comes over, she's bouncing off the walls. She was so quiet tonight, it was weird. Quiet? I thought. More like guilty. Or maybe she'd finally gotten rid of those inappropriate feelings. Probably just tired from work, I mumbled. When I got back to my apartment, her place across the hall was silent. I sat on my couch and turned on the TV, but I couldn't tell you what was on. All I could think about was Chloe saying it'd be like dating my brother and purely platonic. Isn't this what I wanted? For her to back off, for us to stay friends? She was doing exactly what I'd asked. I should feel relieved. So what was this nagging, irritating feeling that wouldn't go away? My phone buzzed. A message in the department group chat about next week's surgery schedule. I glanced at it, about to close the app, when I saw the head nurse tag Chloe. At Chloe Hayes, or 3 tomorrow, 9 a.m. You're scrubbing in. Chloe replied with a got it. A younger nurse commented below. Chloe, you're assisting Dr. Evans tomorrow. Lucky you. Chloe replied with a cartoon hitting a head with a hammer. Just work, don't be weird. My heart did a little jump. Tomorrow. She and I were on a case together. The next day's surgery was a routine appendectomy. When I entered the OR, Chloe was already there, counting instruments. She was in green scrubs, a cap and mask covering everything but her eyes. They were focused, calm, a world away from the loud, goofy girl I knew. I scrubbed in, gowned up, and put on my gloves. She came over to tie the back of my gown. Her fingers brushed against my back, cool through the thin fabric. Thanks, I said quietly. You're welcome, Dr. Evans, she replied, all business. She tied the knot and stepped back. The surgery began. The room was quiet except for the clink of metal and the rhythmic beep of the monitor. I held out my hand. Scalpel. She slapped it firmly into my palm. Hemostat. Retractor. We'd always worked well together, a silent, efficient machine. Incision, dissection, locate the appendix. Everything was going smoothly until I was about to ligate the appendiceal artery. The monitor suddenly shrieked. His pressure was dropping. The anesthesiologist immediately called out, "We've got an issue." My blood ran cold. I froze. What is it? BP's crashing, heart rate's spiking. Allergic reaction? Check the meds. I ordered, simultaneously scanning the surgical field for any bleeding. The scrub tech started to panic. Chloe immediately stepped forward, calmly relaying the anesthesiologist's orders while quickly cross-checking the drugs we'd used. Induction meds are correct. We just pushed antibiotics. Could be an antibiotic allergy. Prep epinephrine, I said, my voice low and steady. The tension in the room was palpable. The anesthesiologist was busy pushing drugs to raise his pressure. I kept my eyes on the field, making sure there was no active bleeding. Chloe stood beside me, her eyes glued to the monitor, calling out the numbers. Pressure's coming up, 80 over 50, 90 over 60. Heart rate is stabilizing. The crisis was over. I continued the procedure, removing the appendix and closing the abdomen. As I stitched the skin, my hands were perfectly steady. But I knew that, for a moment there, my back had been drenched in sweat. After the surgery, I pulled off my mask and let out a long breath. Chloe was cleaning the instruments, her forehead dotted with sweat. I walked over to her. You were quick on your feet back there. She glanced up at me, then looked back down. Just doing my job. Hey, I hesitated. Want to grab dinner tonight? To decompress. She thought for a moment, then shook her head. Can't. I made plans with Haley and the girls to go shopping. Haley was the new nurse on her unit. Them again. A knot formed in my stomach, right? Okay. I didn't say anything else, just turned and headed for the locker room to shower. The hot water felt good, but it didn't wash away the knot. On my way home, I ran into her in the elevator again. She was with Ryan Miller, one of the junior doctors from her department. Ryan was in the middle of a story, and she was laughing. When he saw me, he nodded. Dr. Evans. I nodded back. Chloe just smiled at me, saying nothing. The elevator stopped at Ryan's floor, and he got off. The doors closed, leaving just the two of us. You and Ryan seem to be getting along, I said, unable to stop myself. He's okay. Pretty funny, she answered casually, pulling out her keys. Oh. I watched her unlock her door, walk inside, and shut it behind her. She never looked at me again. I stood in front of my own door, key in hand, unable to fit it into the lock. Funny. What was so funny about a slick guy like Ryan Miller? That nameless anger started to burn again. Our department dinner was at a Korean barbecue place. It was a big group, so we split into 2 tables. I was with the senior attendings, while Chloe was at the other table with the younger nurses and doctors. Through the steam rising from the grill, I could see she was having a good time. Ryan was sitting right next to her, constantly putting food on her plate, refilling her drink. Annoyingly attentive. And she wasn't stopping him. She was just smiling and accepting it. It was pissing me off. The spicy marinade sizzled on the grill, mimicking the irritation bubbling inside me. Dr. Peterson, one of the older surgeons, clapped me on the shoulder. Liam, you in a daze? Eat up. I snapped out of it and grabbed a piece of beef, chewing without tasting it. Dr. Wallace, another attending, grinned at me. So, Liam, any movement on the personal front? You're the last man standing in our department. I forced a smile. Not in a rush. What do you mean, not a rush? I think that young nurse, Chloe, is a great girl. And you two grew up together. You've got the home field advantage. The whole table of old doctors chuckled and joined in. He's right, Liam. Don't wait too long. I instinctively glanced over at the other table. Chloe was leaning over, talking to Haley, and didn't seem to have heard. Ryan, however, looked over at our table, his expression unreadable. I felt even more annoyed. Come on, guys, don't joke around. We're just friends. Just friends who she used to bring breakfast for every single morning, the head nurse teased, calling me out. That was before. Ever since our agreement, she hadn't brought me anything. Now I just grabbed whatever from the hospital cafeteria. Young people these days, too afraid to make a move, Wallace said sagely. You got to be proactive. I just drank my beer and said nothing. After dinner, the group spilled out onto the sidewalk. Chloe and Haley were up ahead, deciding where to go next. Ryan was right beside her, suggesting a quiet cocktail bar he knew. Chloe seemed to agree. I hung back, watching them. Peterson came up beside me and offered me a cigarette. What's wrong? Fight with the kid. I took it, lit it, and took a drag. No. Come on, I can see it on your face. You look like your dog just died, Peterson said, blowing a smoke ring. At every other dinner, you two were inseparable. Tonight you didn't say a word to each other. I smoked in silence. Let me give you some advice, he said, clapping my shoulder. Sometimes you don't appreciate what you have right in front of you until someone else starts eyeing it. I looked at him. You see that Miller kid? The way he looks at Chloe, he's like a wolf staring at a steak, Peterson said with a jerk of his chin. Home field advantage. You don't make a move soon, someone else is going to tear down your stadium. My gut tightened. I don't feel that way about her. Peterson snorted. Keep telling yourself that. If you didn't feel that way, why were you staring at their table all night? If you didn't feel that way, why did you clench your fist so hard when you heard he was taking her for drinks? I looked down and realized my hand was still balled into a fist. All right, stop lying to yourself, Peterson said, stubbing out a cigarette. If you like her, go for it. You wait around. You'll have nothing left to cry about. He walked off, leaving me standing there. The cigarette burned down on my fingers before I even noticed. Like her, me like Chloe. What a joke. I saw her as a buddy, as family, as a walking disaster. I'd never seen her as a woman. At least, I didn't think I had. But why did it bother me so much to see her laughing with someone else? Why did I feel so empty now that she wasn't constantly bugging me? Why did hearing that Ryan was taking her out make me want to punch him in the face? I looked up and watched Chloe, Ryan, and their friends disappear down the street. I didn't go to the bar. I took a cab home. The apartment felt empty, wrong. The TV was on, playing some mindless reality show she loved. It was loud and obnoxious. She used to sprawl on my couch watching it, laughing until she cried, always stealing my chips. Now, the bag of potato chips on the coffee table was open, but untouched. I'd bought them for her last time she was over. I picked up the remote to change the channel, but then put it back down. I just turned the TV off. The silence was even worse. My phone lit up. It was the group chat. Someone had posted a few pictures from dinner. I scrolled through them until I found one. A candid shot of me and Chloe. In the photo, we were separated by the rising steam. I was looking toward my table. She was turned away, talking to Haley. We looked like we were in different worlds. But in the corner of the frame, Ryan's eyes were locked on her. Peterson was right. That kid was up to something. I threw my phone onto the couch in frustration. I went to the fridge and grabbed a beer. The cold liquid soothed some of the fire in my throat, but my head was still a mess. 1 second, I was seeing her clinging to me, whispering, just try it. The next, I was hearing her serious voice saying, we're purely platonic. And then, the image of her laughing with Ryan. I chugged the rest of the beer, crushed the can in my hand, and tossed it perfectly into the trash can in the corner. No, I had to talk to her. Straighten this out. This limbo was killing me. I walked across the hall and raised my hand to knock on her door. But I stopped, my hand hovering in the air. What would I say? Tell her to stay away from Ryan. Why? What right did I have? As her friend, her neighbor, the guy she grew up with. None of those titles gave me the right to control who she saw. I lowered my hand, feeling like an idiot. After standing in front of her door for what felt like an eternity, I finally went back to my own apartment. I didn't sleep at all that night. I had a bizarre dream. In it, Chloe was wearing a wedding dress, smiling beautifully, and the groom standing next to her was Ryan. She was holding his arm, and she turned to me and said, "Liam, you'll be my man of honor, right? We're best friends after all." I woke up with a jolt. The sky outside was just starting to lighten. I was breathing hard, my palms slick with sweat. What the hell was that? I want to work with even darker circles under my eyes. The surgery schedule was packed, and I was on my feet all day. I passed Chloe in the hallway a few times. Each time, she just gave a small nod and hurried past, not even a spare glance in my direction. That afternoon, though, I was at the nurse's station when I overheard Haley talking to another nurse. "That bar last night was great, right? Dr. Miller has good taste." Chloe was writing in a chart, not even looking up. "It was okay. A little buggy. Dr. Miller was so sweet, though, fanning the mosquitoes away from you all night." Chloe's pen paused for a second. She didn't reply. I snorted to myself. "Suck up. You know, I think Dr. Miller is a really great guy. He's handsome, has a good personality. You two would be cute together," Haley gossiped. Chloe closed the chart. "Don't be ridiculous. We're just colleagues." She turned and walked into the supply room. I leaned against the counter, flipping through a patient's chart, and asked Haley casually, "What time did you guys get back last night?" "Around 11, I think." Chloe said she had an early shift and wanted to get home. "Ryan was with you?" "Yeah, he dropped us off at the entrance to the complex." Haley's eyes twinkled. "Dr. Evans, are you interested in Chloe's social life?" I closed the chart. Just asking, but my stomach soured. He dropped them off at the complex? Things were moving fast. It was raining when I got off work. I didn't have an umbrella, so I stood under the hospital awning, waiting for it to let up. A white sedan pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down. It was Ryan. "Dr. Evans, no umbrella? Need a lift?" I was about to say no when I saw who was in the passenger seat. Chloe. She was staring out the window, not looking at me. "No, thanks. It's not that bad. I'll wait," I said. "Come on, get in." "It's on the way," Ryan insisted. Chloe finally turned her head. "Just get in, Liam. Don't be a martyr." Her tone was casual, just like it used to be. I hesitated for a second before pulling open the back door and sliding in. The car was filled with the sound of quiet indie music and awkward silence. Ryan tried to break the ice. This rain came out of nowhere. Good thing I keep a spare umbrella in the car. Chloe replied, "Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I would have been soaked. Anything for you." I saw Ryan's cheesy grin in the rearview mirror. "Do you two often drive home together?" I asked suddenly. Ryan met my eyes in the mirror. "No, just happened to be leaving at the same time today." Chloe didn't say anything, just scrolled on her phone. The car pulled up to our apartment complex. It was still pouring. Ryan grabbed his umbrella, got out, and walked around to the passenger side. He opened Chloe's door for her like a chauffeur, holding the umbrella over her head. I got out on my own. "Thanks, Ryan. We'll see you tomorrow," Chloe said. "You too. See you tomorrow," he said with a wave. I stood in the rain, watching Chloe. She opened her own umbrella and glanced at me. "Let's go." We walked toward our building side by side. Ryan's car was still there. I could feel his eyes on our backs. "He seems pretty into you," I said. Chloe kept her eyes on the path ahead. "We're just colleagues being friendly. Is he asking you out?" She stopped walking for a second, then started again. "Maybe. And what do you think?" "What do you mean, what do I think? How do you feel about it?" Chloe turned to face me. Raindrops dripped from the edge of her umbrella, forming a curtain between us. "Liam, in what capacity are you asking me this question?" I was stunned into silence. She was right. What was my capacity? Best friend? This was overstepping. She watched me, her gaze steady, almost clinical. "If you're asking as my childhood friend, out of concern, then thank you," she said, her voice flat. "But my love life is my own business." With that, she picked up her pace and walked ahead of me. I stared at her stubborn back as the rain soaked my shoulders, a chill seeping deep into my bones. After that, I got sick, a nasty cold, fever, coughing, the works. I called in sick and spent 3 days in bed. My mom came over to take care of me, forcing soup down my throat. A grown man, getting sick from a little rain, she grumbled as she mopped my floor. I was lying in bed, my head throbbing, too weak to argue. My phone rang. My mom answered it. Hello? Oh, Chloe, honey. My ears perked up. Liam? Oh, he's sick, has a fever. No, it's fine, I'm here. You're busy, don't worry about it. You don't need to come over. A pang of disappointment hit me. Oh, your good friend? Okay, I understand. I'll tell him. My mom hung up. Chloe said her good friend is back from out of the country, and she has to spend time with her. She told you to get some rest. Okay, I mumbled, rolling over to face the wall. What kind of good friend was more important than your sick-as-a-dog childhood friend? Then again, I had no right to expect her to come. The sickbed food was tasteless. On the 4th day, my fever broke, and I went back to work, still pale. I ran into Chloe during rounds. She glanced at me, but said nothing. After rounds, she followed me out into the hall and handed me a small bag. Vitamins, to boost your immune system. Don't forget to take them. I took the bag, a warmth spreading through my chest. Thanks. Don't thank me, she said, her tone still distant. Your mom asked me to look out for you. Oh, it was my mom. The warmth vanished. Did your friend leave? I asked just to say something. Which friend? The one from out of the country. She blinked, then remembered. Oh, not yet. In a few days. We stood at the end of the hallway, a chasm of silence between us. Well, I have to get back to work, she said, turning to leave. Chloe, I called out. She looked back. I opened my mouth, wanting to ask her if this was it. If this was all we were ever going to be. But the words got stuck in my throat. It's nothing. Go on. She stared at me for a few seconds, then turned and walked away. I leaned against the wall, feeling completely drained. Worse than when I had the fever. Peterson walked by and patted my shoulder. Well, if it isn't our DR. Evans, struck by Cupid's arrow. I was in no mood for his jokes. Take a word of advice from an old man, Peterson said, leaning in. If you like her, go after her. What's a little pride worth? When she's really gone, you'll regret it. How do you know I like her? You're the only one in the entire department who doesn't, he scoffed. Look at you. You're walking around like a ghost. Still think you can deny it. I fell silent. Maybe Peterson was right. Probably I was actually in love with Chloe. Not the way you love a friend. The way a man loves a woman. The realization sent a jolt of panic through me. For over 20 years, I'd thought of her as my buddy. Now, my buddy had suddenly changed, and I didn't know how to handle it. But maybe it wasn't entirely a bad thing. At the very least, the thought of her being with someone else felt like a knife in my gut. I took a deep breath. I had to do something. I couldn't just watch her walk away. I decided to ask her to dinner. A proper, serious dinner. I spent ages composing the text. Free tonight? Let's get dinner. Delete. Too blunt. Heard about a new restaurant. Want to check it out? Delete. Too obvious. Finally, I sent. I still owe you that post-surgery dinner. Tonight. 10 minutes passed. No reply. I started to feel anxious. She used to reply to my texts instantly. Now, was she busy? Or was she with Ryan? Just as my imagination was running wild, my phone lit up. On call tonight. That's it. For words. I frowned. On call? I had seen the nursing schedule. She was off tonight. I saw the schedule. You're off tonight. I texted back, calling her bluff. A minute later, she replied. Swapped with someone. What? To make overtime pay. Is that a problem? I stared at the screen, imagining her rolling her eyes. Fine. What about tomorrow? On call tomorrow too. Chloe. I switched to a voice message. Are you avoiding me? She replied almost instantly, also with a voice message. Liam, be reasonable. Who's avoiding you? Is it a crime to want to make more money? It's not a crime, but it's not necessary. It is for me. I'm broke. I'm paying. It won't cost you anything. I don't want to go. Can't I just not want to go? No. Why not? Because I'm your best friend. I blurted out, my voice laced with desperation. Silence for a few minutes. Then, a new text appeared. Liam, you're the one who said we needed distance. This is good. Not too close, not too far. I stared at the words, my chest so tight I could barely breathe. I did say that. I was the one who pushed her away. And now that I wanted her back, she was gone. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples. I made my bed. On my way out of the hospital, I ran into Ryan in the elevator. He was humming, clearly in a good mood. Leaving Dr. Evans. Yeah, I'm picking up Chloe. She's craving Korean barbecue, he said with a smile. Want to join? My fingers curled into my palm. No, I have plans. That's a shame, he said, his voice full of false regret, but his eyes held a glint of triumph. The elevator reached the ground floor. Ryan waved at me and strode toward the nurse's station. I stood rooted to the spot, watching him go, my stomach churned with acid. Chloe and Ryan, Korean barbecue. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. No, I couldn't let this happen. I didn't go home. On some insane impulse, I drove to the barbecue place near the hospital, the one Chloe loved, and parked across the street. I sat there like some kind of creep, just staring at the entrance. I didn't even know what I was hoping to accomplish. Maybe I just needed to see if they were really there. Maybe I was looking for a chance to do something. After about half an hour, Ryan's car pulled up. He and Chloe got out. She was wearing a light blue sweater, her hair in a ponytail. She looked fresh and pretty. Ryan was chattering away beside her. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. They went inside and got a table by the window. Through the glass, I could see Chloe's profile. She was smiling. The acid in my stomach churned harder. I pulled out my phone and opened my chat with her. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I had no idea what to say. Ask her where she was. Ask if the food was good. None of my business. Warn her to stay away from Ryan? By what right? I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat in frustration, and I just watched them. Watched Ryan put food on her plate. Watched her eat. Watched them toast with their sodas. Happy. Together. I felt like a complete and utter moron. Sitting here in the cold, watching the girl I liked on a date with another guy. The girl I liked. I finally admitted it to myself. Liam, you like Chloe. Not like a friend. Like you want to hold her in your arms and never let anyone else look at her. But it was too late. She didn't want me anymore. I sat in the car for a long time until they finally came out. Ryan was the perfect gentleman, opening her car door, shielding her head with his hand. The car drove off. I started my own car and followed them, keeping a safe distance. I wasn't trying to stalk her. I was just worried. Okay, I was stalking her. Ryan drove to our complex and stopped. Chloe got out, waved at him, and walked into the building. Ryan didn't leave right away. He sat in his car, watching her. I was watching her too. She got to the lobby door, stopped, and then suddenly turned and looked right in the direction of my car. I ducked instinctively. When I looked up again, she was gone. Ryan's car drove away. I sat in my car, not moving. The motion-activated lights in the stairwell lit up one by one, all the way to the 5th floor. Her floor. Her light came on. She was home. I slumped against the steering wheel, completely exhausted. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Chloe. Just 3 words. Are you serious? My heart hammered against my ribs. She saw me. I hesitated, trying to figure out how to reply. Admit it? Lie. Before I could decide, another message came through. Liam, what the hell do you want? I could feel her anger through the screen. What did I want? I just didn't want to lose you. I took a deep breath and typed. We need to talk. It felt like it took all my strength to send those 4 words. The screen went dark, then lit up, then dark again. No reply. I stared at the lit window on the 5th floor, my stomach in knots. She knew. She definitely knew I followed her. In her eyes, I was probably some kind of psycho stalker now. Finally, my phone vibrated. There's nothing to talk about. The words were ice cold. Yes, there is. It's important. I typed back frantically. Then say it. In person. I don't want to see you. 5 minutes. That's all. Not even 1. I was getting desperate, my hands shaking as I typed. Chloe, I was wrong. This time, she replied instantly. Wrong about what? I froze. Wrong about what? Wrong to reject her? Wrong to push her away? Wrong to be a coward after I realized I like her? All of it. I chose my words carefully. Wrong about how I treated you. How did you treat me? I shouldn't have pushed you away when you were trying to get close. And I shouldn't have followed you. When you were out with someone else, I typed, forcing the words out. You knew you were following me, and you still did it. I couldn't help it. And why should I have to deal with what you can't help? Her question left me speechless. She was right. Why should she? The tables had turned. She used to chase me, and now I was the one who couldn't stand it. Karma. I rested my forehead against the cool steering wheel. Chloe, give me a chance. Just one. No. I promise. Just one conversation. If you still don't want to talk to me after, I'll never bother you again. Silence on the other end. The seconds ticked by like torture. Just when I thought she was going to ignore me for good, my phone lit up. The courtyard. You have 5 minutes. I felt a massive weight lift off my chest. I almost cried with relief. Okay, I'm on my way. I practically flew out of the car and ran into the complex. Chloe was sitting on a bench in the small courtyard, wearing sweatpants and a jacket. The dim lamplight obscured her expression. I ran up to her, breathing heavily. 4 minutes and 50 seconds, she said, glancing at an imaginary watch. Your time starts now. I caught my breath and sat down next to her, leaving a space between us. About Ryan. For minutes, she cut me off, her voice flat. I didn't come here to talk about Ryan. I said, getting agitated. Then what? To talk about me. I looked at her. To tell you I was wrong. And I regret it. She didn't speak, just waited. Chloe, I was an idiot. I just let it all out. I thought of you as my buddy, my friend. I thought that was safe. That way, I could never lose you. And then I realized I was wrong. When I saw you laughing with someone else, eating with someone else, it felt like my insides were being clawed out. So, I think I'm in love with you. I finally said it. My face was on fire. She finally turned her head and looked at me properly. In the dim light, her eyes were shining. You think? No, not think. I corrected myself quickly. I know. I'm in love with you, Chloe. Not the friend kind of love. The I want to be your boyfriend kind of love. She stared at me for a few seconds, then let out a small, humorless laugh. Liam, are you sure this isn't just some knee-jerk reaction because you're jealous of Ryan? It's not. I was so desperate I almost grabbed her hand, but stopped myself. I swear, when I was sick, all I could think about was you. When you stopped bugging me, my world felt empty. I even had a nightmare that you married someone else. I woke up in a cold sweat. Chloe's expression softened for a moment, but she quickly masked it. Oh. I waited. Nothing. That's it. I asked, confused. What else? She stood up. 5 minutes are up. I jumped to my feet and blocked her path. Chloe, I'm serious. Please just give me a chance. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a complicated mix of emotions. Liam, love isn't a switch you can just flip on and off whenever you feel like it. I know. No, you don't. She shook her head. When I loved you, you pushed me away. Now that I'm over you, you decide you love me. Why does everything have to be on your terms? I had no answer. I'm tired, Liam. Her voice was weary. I don't want to play these games anymore. She walked around me and headed for the lobby door. I watched her go, a wave of panic washing over me. Chloe, I shouted at her, retreating back. I'm not giving up. Her steps faltered for a second, but she didn't turn around. She just disappeared inside. The motion-activated lights went on, floor by floor. I stood there alone, the night wind suddenly feeling very cold. Epilogue, the chase. The news that Chloe and I were together spread through the hospital like wildfire. No one was surprised. They did, however, extort a very expensive dinner out of me. When my mom found out, she was so happy she nearly set off fireworks, calling Chloe's mom and celebrating that they were finally going to be family. Life suddenly became sweet. We could hold hands in public, hug, kiss. We commuted together, came home together, disgustingly inseparable. All the things I used to find cheesy now felt completely natural. Peterson saw us one day and said, Evans, you're practically radiating pink hearts. I grinned. Jealous. Get out of here, he grumbled, but he was smiling. So this is what it felt like to be with the person you love. That weekend, we went to an art gallery. As we were leaving, we ran into someone at the entrance. A handsome, well-dressed guy. His eyes lit up when he saw Chloe, and he walked over. Chloe, is that really you? Chloe blinked. Then a flash of recognition crossed her face. Marcus? Wow, long time no see. The guy, Marcus, had a warm smile. Yeah, it's been years. Who's this? He asked, looking at me. Chloe naturally linked her arm through mine. This is my boyfriend, Liam. Then she looked at me. Liam, this is my old college classmate, Marcus. I kept a polite smile plastered on my face, but alarm bells were screaming in my head. College classmate. From the way this guy was looking at her, it was definitely more than just classmate. Nice to meet you, I said. Marcus nodded at me, then turned his attention back to Chloe. You haven't changed a bit. You too, Chloe smiled. Are you guys here for the exhibit? Want to grab a coffee, he offered. I tightened my grip on Chloe's hand. She seemed to sense my tension and smiled. We have plans, she said smoothly. That's too bad. Marcus looked disappointed, but didn't push it. He pulled a card from his wallet. Here's my card. We should catch up sometime. Chloe took it. After a few more minutes of small talk, Marcus left. The second he was gone, my smile vanished. College classmate? I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Seemed pretty friendly. Chloe tucked the card into her purse and gave me a sideways glance. What? Are you jealous? No, I said unconvincingly. He was the president of a club I was in. I haven't seen him in years, she explained. Just an old friend. Just an old friend who asks you out for coffee the second he sees you. I grumbled. Chloe stopped walking and turned to face me, a slow smile spreading across her face. Liam, you do realize you sound like a giant, grumpy teddy bear right now, right? I felt my face heat up. I'm not jealous. I just don't like the way that guy was looking at you. Oh, she leaned in closer, her eyes sparkling. And how is he looking at me? Like a guy looks at a girl. I sputtered. She laughed a bright, happy sound and reached up to pinch my cheek. Relax, Liam. Her voice was soft. My eyes are only on you. And just like that, all my insecurity and jealousy melted away. I caught her hand. That's more like it. But, she said, her tone shifting playfully, shouldn't you have a little more confidence in yourself? I'm very confident. Then what's with the jealousy? She teased, raising an eyebrow. Or are you just afraid someone's going to steal me away? I looked at her sly grin, and the last of my annoyance vanished. I was her boyfriend now. What did I have to be afraid of? I leaned down and gave her a quick, firm kiss. No one's stealing you. You're mine, forever. Her cheeks turned pink, and she playfully pushed me away. We're in public. People are watching. I just laughed and pulled her into my side. Let them watch. We're allowed. The sun was warm on our skin. I looked at her blushing face, and my heart felt full, steady, and secure. All the hesitation, the fear, the insecurity of the past. It all seemed so stupid now. I knew right then. This was it. For the rest of my life, it was her. End.